Jessica Winters stood on Mark Taylor's doorstep in her wedding dress, mascara streaking down her cheeks, clutching a crumpled envelope. "I left him at the altar," she blurted out, her voice breaking. "I couldn't marry Andrew when I've been in love with you for the past 2 years." Mark froze, his 5-year-old daughter Emma peeking from behind his legs, as the woman who signed his paychecks, his direct boss, confessed feelings he never knew existed. 3 hours earlier, Jessica had been moments from walking down the aisle toward Andrew Bennett, heir to a hotel empire and her fiancé of 18 months. 200 guests waited, a 6-figure wedding planned to perfection. Everything she'd worked for, the merger between their companies, the business alliance her board coveted, would vanish if she followed her heart. As her father offered his arm, Jessica suddenly couldn't breathe. "I can't do this," she whispered, the weight of living a lie finally crushing her. "I'm in love with someone else." Her father's face fell as she fled, leaving behind not just a groom, but the carefully constructed future her family had planned since she was born. Mark stared at Jessica, unable to process her words. This woman, the intimidating CEO who'd hired him as marketing director after his wife died, was declaring her love while his daughter clung to his leg? "You're my boss," he stammered. "You're engaged to Andrew Bennett." The merger. His mind raced through the implications. If anyone discovered this moment, he could lose his job, the stability he'd fought to maintain for Emma since becoming a single father. Yet something in Jessica's vulnerable expression made his heart race in a way it hadn't for years. What would you do if the person you secretly admired confessed their feelings in the most dramatic way possible? Like this video if you've ever had to choose between your heart and your head. The tension between them crackled as Mark invited her inside, Emma watching curiously as the pretty lady in the big white dress tried to stop crying. "You've never even shown interest in me," Mark said, handing Jessica a tissue. "You barely speak to me outside of meetings." Jessica laughed bitterly. "Because I was terrified. Do you know how hard I've worked to be taken seriously?" "Women CEOs don't get to have feelings, Mark. We don't get to fall for employees without being called predators or desperate." Her hands trembled. "I tried to bury it. That's why I accepted Andrew's proposal. I thought I could make myself love him instead." As Emma went to bed, Jessica revealed the truth. She'd first noticed Mark during a company retreat when he'd stayed up all night helping the interns finish a project. While other executives networked at the bar, Mark had chosen kindness over advancement. She'd watched him balance fatherhood and career with grace, never using his circumstances for sympathy or special treatment. "You were everything Andrew wasn't," she confessed. "Real. Genuine. Not interested in what I could do for you." Mark's phone buzzed incessantly, Andrew's name flashing on the screen. The jilted groom had connected the dots and was threatening to expose their affair to the board, destroying both their reputations. Jessica paled. "I've ruined everything," she whispered. "Your career, mine, the company. Have you ever risked everything for love? Comment below with your story." The next morning, Mark arrived at work to find security waiting. The board had called an emergency meeting, and rumors flew through the office. Jessica hadn't arrived, and Andrew's family was publicly demanding her resignation. Mark's colleagues avoided his eyes as he was escorted to the boardroom, where 12 stern faces awaited him. "Mr. Taylor," the chairman began, "serious allegations have been made about an inappropriate relationship between you and Ms. Winters." Mark opened his mouth to defend himself when the door burst open. Jessica strode in wearing yesterday's wedding dress, her expression fierce. "If you're looking for someone to blame, it's me," she announced. "I left my fiancé because I couldn't continue living a lie. Mark has done nothing wrong." She placed a folder on the table. "These are the quarterly projections Andrew's company provided for our merger. And these," she slid another folder forward, "are the actual numbers I discovered last week. He was setting us up for a hostile takeover." The board members flipped through the documents in stunned silence. I was going to expose him after the honeymoon, Jessica continued. But I realized I couldn't marry someone I didn't trust, let alone love. Not even to save this company. Her eyes met Mark's. Some things matter more than business. This revelation changes everything. Subscribe to see more stories about choosing integrity over convenience. The aftermath of the board meeting left Jessica and Mark in a precarious position. That evening, Jessica sat alone in her penthouse apartment, staring at her phone as media notifications flooded in. "Runaway CEO bride scandal," screamed the headlines. She'd expected backlash, but not the vicious character assassination Andrew's PR team had unleashed. Photos of her and Mark from company events were being twisted into evidence of a long-standing affair. Worse, they'd somehow obtained pictures of her leaving Mark's house in her wedding dress. Her phone rang, her mother. "Jessica Elizabeth Winters, how could you humiliate our family this way?" her mother hissed. "The Bennetts are telling everyone you've been unstable for months. Your father's business associates are already distancing themselves." Jessica closed her eyes, the weight of disappointing her family crushing her chest. "I raised you to be better than this," her mother continued. "To think with your head, not follow some schoolgirl crush." "It wasn't a crush, Mom," Jessica whispered. "I was about to marry someone who was planning to destroy everything we've built. And I don't love him." The silence on the other end was deafening. "Love?" her mother finally said. "You think your father and I built our life on love? We built it on respect, shared goals, and practicality. That's what lasts, Jessica. Not this fantasy." After hanging up, Jessica curled into herself on the couch, doubts flooding her mind. Had she destroyed everything for a man who might not even want her back? Meanwhile, Mark tucked Emma into bed, his mind racing. "Daddy, is Miss Jessica going to visit again?" Emma asked sleepily. "I liked her dress. She looked like a princess." Mark smoothed his daughter's hair. "I don't know, sweetheart. She looked sad. Like you did after Mommy went to heaven." Emma's innocent observation pierced Mark's heart. "But when she smiled at you, you smiled back. You don't smile like that a lot." Out of the mouths of babes. If this story is touching your heart, hit that like button now. The following week brought new challenges. Andrew's family pulled their investments from Jessica's company, causing the stock to plummet. Mark found himself ostracized by colleagues who believed he'd slept his way into Jessica's favor. During a tense marketing meeting, his presentation was deliberately sabotaged by a senior VP loyal to Andrew's family. Perhaps if you spent more time on strategy and less time seducing the boss, Taylor, your numbers wouldn't be so disappointing, the VP sneered as the projections showed incorrect data. Mark's hands clenched. "These aren't my slides," he said evenly. "Someone altered my presentation." The room fell silent as he pulled up the original files from his personal drive, revealing the manipulation. "I understand some of you have questions about my relationship with Ms. Winters. Let me be clear. There was no affair. There was no impropriety. And I won't let anyone undermine this company because of personal vendettas." As he walked back to his office, Jessica stepped from the shadows of the hallway. "That was impressive," she said quietly. "You didn't have to defend me." "I wasn't just defending you," Mark replied. "I was defending the truth." Their eyes locked, the chemistry between them undeniable despite their efforts to maintain professional distance. "Emma asked about you," he added softly. "She said you looked like a princess." Jessica's composure cracked, a genuine smile breaking through. "She's a special little girl. You're doing an amazing job with her." "We're having a movie night tomorrow," Mark said impulsively. "Nothing fancy, just pizza and Disney. She'd love to see you, if you wanted to come." Jessica hesitated, aware of the office gossips watching their interaction. "Is that wise?" Given everything? Probably not, Mark admitted. But I'm starting to think wisdom is overrated. The movie night changed everything. Have you ever had a moment when you realized someone fit perfectly into your life? Double tap if you know that feeling. The pizza was half eaten, Emma was dozing between them on the couch, and Frozen played softly in the background when Jessica finally relaxed enough to kick off her heels and tuck her feet under her. Mark watched her transformation from polished CEO to this softer version with messy hair and tomato sauce on her sleeve from helping Emma. "You're staring," Jessica murmured, self-conscious. "I've never seen you like this before," Mark admitted. "At ease. Real. This is who I was before," she said quietly. "Before business school, before the board, before I learned that vulnerability was considered weakness." She gently stroked Emma's hair. "I used to want children. A family. But then my first boyfriend told me I'd have to choose, career or motherhood. I couldn't have both, not if I wanted to be taken seriously." Mark's expression darkened. He was wrong. Was he? Look at the headlines. CEO throws away career for love. They're making me sound unstable, emotional, all the stereotypes I've fought against for years. You exposed corporate fraud and refused to marry someone who was using you, Mark countered. That's not emotional instability. That's integrity. As Emma stirred between them, Jessica helped Mark carry her to bed. Standing in the doorway of the little girl's room, watching Mark tuck his daughter in with such tenderness, Jessica felt a yearning so powerful it took her breath away. This was what she'd been missing, not power or success, but connection. Family. When Mark returned to the living room, he found Jessica wiping away tears. "I should go," she said, reaching for her purse. "Jessica," Mark said softly, taking her hand. "Stay." Their first kiss was hesitant, gentle, nothing like the passionate collision of lips in movies, but something more profound. A question and an answer. A beginning. Sometimes the most beautiful moments happen when we least expect them. Share this video if you believe in second chances. 2 months later, Jessica faced her greatest challenge yet. The company's largest investor had called for her resignation, claiming her personal drama had become a liability. The board was split, with half supporting her and half wanting her gone. As she prepared for the decisive meeting, her assistant handed her an envelope that had been delivered by courier. Inside were documents from Andrew's company, internal memos proving he'd been planning the hostile takeover for over a year. More damning, there were emails showing he deliberately pursued Jessica as part of the strategy. "Find her weakness," one email read. "Everyone has one. Use it." Jessica's hands trembled. These documents could save her position, vindicate her decision to leave Andrew. But the courier note explained they'd been obtained by a whistleblower who wished to remain anonymous. Using them might expose someone who had risked everything to help her. As she deliberated, Mark knocked on her office door. "I heard about the board meeting," he said. "I wanted to wish you luck." Jessica showed him the documents. "I could save everything with these. But at what cost?" Mark studied her face. "What does your gut tell you?" "That I'm tired of playing by rules designed to make me fail," she said slowly. "That maybe losing this job wouldn't be the worst thing that could happen to me." She looked up at him. "I've been so focused on proving I belong in this position that I forgot to ask if this position still belongs in my life." The board meeting was tense, the accusations harsh. Jessica listened as investors detailed their concerns about her judgment, her stability, her commitment to the company. When it was her turn to speak, she stood calmly. "For 10 years, I've given everything to this company. I've sacrificed relationships, family, and personal happiness because I believed success meant putting business first." She looked around the room. "I was wrong. Success is building something that reflects your values, not compromising them." She placed the documents on the table. These prove Andrew Bennett planned to destroy this company. I could use them to defend myself, but they were obtained by someone who trusted me to do the right thing. She pushed them away. I won't betray that trust, even to save my position. The room fell silent. Then the oldest board member, a woman who had rarely spoken during Jessica's tenure, stood up. 30 years ago, I was asked to choose between my career and my family, she said. I chose career and have regretted it every day since. She looked around the table. Ms. Winters has shown more integrity today than most of us demonstrate in a lifetime. I move that we not only retain her as CEO but increase her authority to restructure as she sees fit. The vote was unanimous. When integrity meets courage, magic happens. Like and subscribe for more stories that will restore your faith in humanity. 3 months later, at the company holiday party, Jessica and Mark finally danced together publicly. Whispers followed them, but neither cared. You gave up being CEO for this, Mark murmured against her hair. Do you regret it? Jessica smiled. I spent my whole life climbing a ladder because I thought success meant power. Then I watched you with Emma and realized success is having the courage to prioritize love. She glanced across the room, where Emma was teaching board members how to make paper snowflakes. Some sacrifices aren't sacrifices at all. Mark pulled back, studying her face. When you showed up at my door that night, I thought you were having a breakdown. I never imagined we'd end up here. Neither did I, Jessica admitted. But I couldn't fake loving someone else anymore. Not when I knew what real love felt like. She hesitated. Even if you hadn't felt the same, I needed to be honest. With Andrew, with myself, with you. As midnight approached, Mark led Jessica to the rooftop garden. Snow fell gently around them as he knelt on one knee. I'm not offering a merger or a business proposition, he said, opening a small box. Just my heart, if you'll have it. Jessica's tears fell freely as she nodded, employees cheering from the doorway where they'd gathered to witness the moment. Emma rushed forward, wrapping her arms around Jessica's waist. Does this mean you'll be my new mom? She asked hopefully. It means we'll figure it out together, Jessica promised, looking at the family she'd never dared to dream of having. Some risks are worth taking. 6 months later, Jessica stood nervously in the dressing room of a small chapel. This time, her wedding dress was simple, an elegant sheath of ivory silk that reflected the woman she'd become, not the corporate image she'd hidden behind. Her mother adjusted the veil, their relationship slowly healing after months of difficult conversations. I was wrong, her mother admitted quietly. Watching you these past months, the way you light up around Mark and Emma, how you've transformed the company into something more human. I've never seen you so fulfilled. Jessica squeezed her mother's hand. I was scared too, Mom. Terrified that I was throwing away everything for a fantasy. But sometimes the biggest risk is not taking one at all. As she walked down the aisle toward Mark, Jessica saw not the faces of business associates or social connections, but friends who had stood by them through the scandal. Emma bounced excitedly at the altar in her flower girl dress, waving frantically when she spotted Jessica. Mark's eyes filled with tears as he watched his bride approach, not a CEO, not a business asset, just the woman he loved. Their vows were personal, honest admissions of fear and hope. I promise to never again let fear of failure keep me from reaching for happiness, Jessica said, her voice steady. To show Emma that strength isn't about power, but about having the courage to be vulnerable. And to remind you every day that you are enough, exactly as you are. Mark's voice broke as he responded. I promise to stand beside you, not behind you or in front of you. To build a family where we all feel safe to be our true selves. And to never take for granted the miracle of that night you showed up at my door and changed everything. As they were pronounced husband and wife, Emma couldn't wait for her cue. She launched herself at both of them, creating a family hug that had the entire congregation laughing through tears. The photographer captured the moment, not a perfect, posed family portrait, but a genuine snapshot of joy, imperfection, and love. At the reception, Jessica's father raised his glass. "To my daughter, who taught me that true success isn't measured in stock prices or business deals, but in the courage to follow your heart. And to Mark and Emma, who showed her that family isn't something that holds you back, it's what gives you wings." Later that night, as they danced under the stars, Mark whispered, "Any regrets?" Jessica looked around at their new reality. Emma twirling in her dress, their friends and family celebrating, the weight of pretense finally lifted from her shoulders. "Just one," she said with a smile. "That I waited so long to be brave." If this story moved you, please subscribe for more content that celebrates choosing authenticity over expectation. Love deserves courage. Share this with someone who needs to hear that message today. 1 year later, Jessica sat on the porch swing of their new home, watching Mark chase Emma through the sprinklers in their backyard. The company had thrived under her more balanced leadership approach, with policies supporting working parents and emphasizing work-life integration becoming industry standards. Several women executives had personally thanked her for showing that vulnerability and strength could coexist. Her phone buzzed, a news alert about Andrew Bennett. His company's fraudulent practices had finally been exposed, resulting in federal charges. Jessica felt no satisfaction, only relief that the final shadow over their happiness had lifted. "What are you thinking about?" Mark asked, collapsing beside her on the swing, delightfully soaked from Emma's water gun ambush. "How different life would be if I'd made the safe choice," Jessica replied, resting her head on his shoulder. "If I'd walked down that aisle to Andrew instead of showing up at your door." Mark kissed her forehead. "Some doors only open when we're brave enough to knock." Emma bounded up the steps, her hair dripping. "Mommy! Daddy! Can we have ice cream now?" The word "mommy" still brought tears to Jessica's eyes. The adoption papers had been finalized just last month, making official what their hearts had known all along. As they headed inside, hand in hand, Jessica realized that true happiness wasn't found in perfect plans or careful calculations. It was found in the courage to choose love, even when it seemed impossible. In the willingness to risk everything for the chance at something real. Sometimes the most beautiful life stories begin with the words, "I couldn't fake it anymore." If this story touched your heart, remember that your own story deserves authenticity too. Like, subscribe, and share to inspire others to choose courage over comfort. The best chapters of your life might be waiting just beyond your fear.